Today we'll see the formulation. Once again, good morning to all. In today's session, we'll look into formulation of the project report. Okay, as already we have seen, project report is like a roadmap. What is a roadmap? A roadmap gives the direction to the organization in what direction it has to move. The roadmap is put together by putting all the thought process, all the think tanks together. They will put up this roadmap so that it will form as a guide for the organization. And the report also acts as an operating document, meaning whatever the operational things that are required for the organization for the project will be available in the project report. What information and how much information to be contained, it depends on the size of the particular organization. So some reports might contain more information depending on its size, and some information are not needed for the small scale enterprises. For example, small scale enterprises do not include technology information, which is a must for the large scale enterprises. Within small scale enterprises, from unit to unit, the report may not be like a homogeneous, means it is not similar, it can vary. Vinod Gupta, the management practitioner, he has given general set of information in his study for formation of a project report. So, according to Gupta, project formulation is divided into many processes for the development of the project. So he has found out like eight different concepts or the processes. First one is the general information about the project we have to include. Then details about the project, what the project is going to be. And next one is the market potential. Basically, it will talk about the market. So market is a very important aspect when entrepreneur starts his enterprise. Uh, but market is the very big thing. Whenever you are coming up with your business ideas, first thing is you have to look into the market. How much market is there for that particular product, and how the market will move in which direction. Okay, whether it will create more demand or it will create a less demand. For example, any kind of a idea or a project related to the communication related to communication, it is going to enhance. So we know that the communication will keep on, it will increasing, right? You can now, like from 3G, it started from 2G, and today we are like up to 5G. The communication, there are some markets which are clearly gives the indication how it will move, so that has to be captured. Capital costs and sources of finance, that should be specified. Assessment of working capital requirement, I told you what is working capital for making the organization to be operational. Whatever the cost incurred, that is called as the working capital. Other financial aspects should be specified. Economical and social variables has to be considered, and project implementation, how the project actually it is going to be implemented, that should be specified. So nature of formation to be collected and furnished under each of these stages has been as given below. In case of a general information, what all the things that should be included? The first thing is the biodata of the promoter, that is the information about the entrepreneur, like his name, address, his qualification, what are his experiences, what are his capabilities. All those things should be included. And if that particular organization structure or the ownership of that particular organization is not sole, if there are partners or if there is any kind of other kind of a partnership, whoever is investing, whoever is funding, all everybody's information should be provided. If there are partners, their information similar in the similar line, qualification, experiences, their capabilities, everything should be provided in this particular section. Then industry profile. So industry profile is it is a whichever industry this particular project belongs, you have to give the information about that industry profile. Okay, for example, past performances, present status, its organization, its problems. For example, you are setting up a company which is related to IT industry. So in industry profile, you will give the IT industry profile, right? How IT industry is performing, was performing, and is what is the current status, and its organizations, and what are the problems of the IT. So industry profiling has to be given. Constitution and organization. The constitution and organization structure of the enterprise. In case of partnership firm, its registration. So if the constitution and the, how organization structure is going to be, that should be specified. And if it is a partnership firm, its registration with the registrar of firms means, if partnership firm is there, it should be registered, and that registration information should be included. Certification from the directorate of industries or district industry center. If you have any kind of a certification, that should be included. Next one is the product details. We in this category, we have to give the what is the product utility, what are the product range, what are the different range of products you are going to manufacture, their design, advantages to be offered by the product over its substitute, if any. So here you have to tell about what is the use of your product, and what are the different range of product you are coming up with, and design, what is the design, if there is any unique design that you are following, and if there are any unique advantages that it offers over the competitors products or the substitutes. Second one is the project description. Under project description, you have to cover all aspects of the project, means what are the things that are required for the project should be covered. For example, site information should be provided, location of the unit, where is the location, whether it is owned by that particular entrepreneur or the partners, whether it is a rented, whether it is on the lease, that information should be provided, whether that particular site is in the industrial area, right? If it is in the industrial area, it has to be specified. And if that particular site is in the residential area, then there should be no objection certificate from the municipal authorities. This is the mandatory thing, because the minute your industrial setup is in the residential area, it is going to create a problems, unless you have the no objection certificate. If you have no objection certificate, going forward, there will not be any problem. If you don't have any no objection certificate, if you are in a residential area, the industry might cause a noise or other disturbances for the residences, and later it is going to be very difficult. So municipal authorities will make sure that if they are giving the no objection, they will make sure that this particular industry is not causing any inconvenience to the residents who are residing over there. Then we have to give the information about the physical infrastructure. Availability of the following items of the infrastructure should be mentioned in the project report. So what are the physical infrastructure? First one is the raw material, requirement of the raw material, whether that raw material, first you have to specify what raw materials you will require, and where they are available, whether they are available inland, or it should be imported from other countries. And we have to give the sources of who is going to supply that particular raw material. Sources in the sense, the supplier information, their name, address, if they have a website. So all those information should be given in the this particular section. Next one is the skilled labor. Availability of the skilled labor, whatever the type of industry you are planning to set up, whether the skilled labor is required, if it is required, whether it is available in that particular area, or there should be an arrangement for the training of the resources, human resources, for developing certain kind of skills which are required for the that particular project. Those should be specified, and you have to include the what are the utilities that are required, and the utilities will include what is the power consumption, if you need any kind of a fuel for operational of the project, and water requirement. In case of a power, how much power you would require, whether you require 1000 kilowatt or 500 kilowatt, that should be specified. And load sanctioned, what is load sanctioned is whenever you are setting up a industry, you will estimate how much power you will require, and accordingly you should get the permission, and you should get a particular load sanctioned. And how you will calculate that particular load, whatever the maximum power consumption that occurs, okay, when you are running all the machineries and all the loads that are in the particular industry, there could be many fans, many lights, including all the total power, that is the sanctioned power. Okay, for that power consumption you should get a sanctioned letter from the power supplying agency. Okay, and availability of the power, we have to make sure that sufficient power is generated in that particular state, so that you should talk about the availability of the power. There should not be, if there is a deficiency of power generation in the state itself, there is definitely there is going to be a power disruptions. If there are power disruption, then it is going to affect the production. If it affects the production, it is going to affect the profitability. Then fuel, requirement of fuel items such as coal. If you have any other requirement, any other fuel requirement such as coal, oil or gas, okay, and we have to mention their availability and what are the supply position that you have to specify. Water, you have to specify how much water is required for this particular project, what are the sources, what is the quality of the water, all those things should be specified. Pollution control, and this is very important. The aspects like the scope of the dump sewage system, sewage treatment plant, infiltration facility, etc., should be mentioned. So whatever the effluents, whatever the output you are creating, which will potentially cause pollution, how you are putting the treatment plant, how you are taking care of those things should be specified. Communication and transportation. Here you have to specify the availability of the communication facilities like telephone, fax, internet. Okay, those are the things you have to specify their availability. Nowadays, this is not a mature requirement. Some of these guidelines are from maybe 10 years back or 15 years back, where communication was also a challenge, similar to the power. Now, if you see, like almost every state is generating surplus power. There is no problem with the power at all. So industries need not worry about the availability of the power. Power is available in abundance. So nowadays that is not a problem. Similar to the communication. Earlier, these were some of the challenges. With the change in the time, some of the things will get improved. So those will not become a very potentially any investor will not base his decision based on the communication or transportation. Okay, but earlier it was the major factor. Requirement of the transport, mode of the transport. So what is the requirement of the transport, how you are going to procure your raw materials, how you are going to distribute your products, what are the different modes, whether it is by road, whether it is by rail, whether it is by the water transport. So all those things should be specified. Potential means of transport is how you are going to transfer a road, rail, air, or water. Those are the different means. And approximate distance to be covered. If there are any bottlenecks in the transportation, that should be specified, should be stated in the business plan. So all those requirement with respect to the communication and the transportation facility should be specified. Next one is the production process. So in the production process, the project report should clearly specify, it should mention what should be the exact process that is involved in the production. So that process has to be clearly mentioned, and that is an important thing, because what kind of a process you are going to use will have a greater impact. So if your process is better, the chances of success is very high. And so mention should be made for the process involved in the production and period of conversion from raw material into the finished goods. This is a very important factor. What is the time that is required from converting the raw material to finished goods, right? If it takes a very long time, then it's a big problem, because you have to turn over the money. If it takes relatively less time to convert the raw material into the finished product, that is more beneficial. So that timeline should be specified. Machinery and equipment. Uh, in this report, complete list of machineries and what are the equipments are required should be specified with their size, type, okay, cost, and sources of their supply. So size is like suppose if you are setting up a sugar industry, the kind of machine will decide how much tons of sugarcane you are going to process. So that is the size. So if it is a large size, you are going to consume lot of raw materials, and you will produce more. So that size has to be specified. And the type, cost, and the suppliers, list of the suppliers who provides the machinery and equipment should be specified. Capacity of the plant, the installed licensed capacity of the plant along with the shift should be mentioned in the project. So just I give an example of sugar factory. Let us say its capacity 100 tons per day. That is the capacity. Whatever is it is licensed. Suppose if particular sugar industry is licensed to produce 100 tons per day, that is the capacity that should they do. They can do 100 or less, not more than 100. And also you should specify how many shifts would be there, whether your industry is going to run 24 into 7, or it is just going to run for like a day shift. So how many shifts are going to be there, you have to specify. If your industry is such that there is a continuous production, if it is 24 into 7, then you will have like maybe 3 shifts. Employees will work in the 3 shifts, and the machinery will be, the industry will be running continuously. Only the people who are working on those will keep on changing every 8 to 10 hours. Technology selected. Here, the selection of the technology, arrangements made for acquiring it should be mentioned in the business plan. If there is any unique technology that is developed by the entrepreneur, that should be specified. Or if particular technology that is available in the market, if you are acquiring that particular technology, that should be specified in the business plan. Other common facilities has to be specified. Availability of common facilities like a machine shop, welding shop, electrical repair shop, etc. should be stated in the project. So if there is a requirement to have a machine shop, welding shop, or a electrical repair shop inside, that should be specified. And research and development. A mention should be made in the project report regarding the proposed research and development activities to be undertaken in the future. Okay. Normally, the entrepreneur, when he is doing the startup, he may not think about the R&D, because first making the enterprise successful is the first objective. Then Once the let's say it might take a couple of years to make sure that that particular organization is running smoothly and it is making profit. After, let's say, couple of years, if there is a proposed R&D plan for the R&D, that should be specified. Market potential. So market potential is very important. This is the key factor. While preparing the project report, the following aspects relating to the market potential of the product or the product should be stated in the report. So what kind of a market information you have to gather and produce in the report is demand and supply position. So state the total expected demand for the product and present supply position. What is the gap between demand and supply, and how much gap will fill up by the proposed demand. So in this particular head, you will this some of the data will be available with the government agencies. Otherwise, you have to make some kind of a estimates. What is the demand and what is the current supply? For example, for the sugar, definitely we know what is the demand and what is the current position, means how much is getting produced and what is the gap is there. And by setting up your unit, how much production you will add, means how much gap you will fill by your production. So those information should be provided. Expected price. So whatever the price you are expecting for that particular product, that should be mentioned. Marketing strategy. What kind of marketing strategy you are planning, that should be mentioned in the project report. After sales service, suppose if you are involved in such products, if you are creating such products, if there is a requirement of a sales sorry, service after the sales, that should be specified. For example, if you are a auto manufacturer, once you what is your product? Your product is some kind of a vehicle or a car. Once you sell that car, you have to have the service for that. After sales service should be provided, right? And there are some products where there is no service required, right? Means they are like they are used and you need not provide the full scale service. For example, the TV manufacturers, you won't find the sales after sales service in every city. So there might be some sales after service in major cities, but you won't see that. But if you see the automobile sector, predominantly whenever they have the sales, they will also have the service in the same location. So if there is any such things, it should be specified in the report. Depending upon the nature of the product, provisions made for after sales should normally be stated in the project report. Next one is the capital costs and sources of finances. An estimate of various components of the capital items like land and buildings, plant and machineries, installation cost, preliminary expenses, margin of working capital should be given in the project report. So as I told before, like there are different kinds of costs that are involved. You need a land, you need a building, right? You need machinery, and those machineries needs to be installed, right? There should be a civil work done. All those are expenses. All those expenses should be mentioned clearly in the not only mentioning, you have to estimate how much cost it is going to incur. And the sources should indicate owners funds together with funds raised from the financial institutions and banks. Project report should also one is the cost, and second is the sources, how he is going to manage this cost. One is like owners is entrepreneurs, his own funds, he might be having some funds, and he might be raising the funds from other institution, financial institutions and the banks. All those things should be specified. Assessment of working capital. We understand what is working capital. The requirement for working capital and its source of supply should be clearly mentioned. He should be able to correctly assess what is the working capital, and how he is going to fund those working capital should be specified. It is preferred to prepare working capital requirements in the prescribed format designed by the limits of requirements. So, using the particular format based on the limits, maximum and minimum limits, working capital should be specified. When you are estimating the working capital, for example, when you are calculating the working capital, one of the component is the electricity bill. The electricity bill will vary, right, depending upon the operation of the your industry. There is a like a minimum limit as well as the maximum limit. When you are calculating the working capital and when you are providing the finding the sources for that, you should go with the upper limit, maximum limit. It will reduce the objection from the banker side. So if you have all this information, so there won't be any objection from the banker side. Other financial aspects: to adjudge the profitability of the project to be set up a projected profit and loss account indicating likely sales revenue, cost of production, allied cost, and profit should be prepared. So it should include all the profit related information, loss related information. So what is the expected sales revenue, then what is the cost of production, all those should be specified. Projected balance sheet, a cash flow statement should be also prepared to indicate the financial position and requirements at various stages of the uh, project. So, balance sheet is like, you have all the expenses and you have all the revenues. So that is where you will come to know, like you have all the expenses and all the incomes. When you tally it together, then you will come to know whether it's a firm is making profit or firm is making loss. That's a balance sheet. And cash flow, whatever the cash flow that is you are having, all those should be like mentioned. In addition to this, break-even analysis should be presented. We know what is break-even analysis. uh, Break-even is what? No loss, no profit. That is called as a break-even. You should be able to estimate the production, at what production you will reach the break even. Means, let us say you are manufacturing sugar. Let us say if you produce like a 50 tons per day. If you produce 50 tons per day, you will reach break even. Means, if you are producing every day 50 tons of sugar, you will not be incurring loss, or you are not be making profit. So that limit should be estimated. Why we should know that? Whenever our sales go below this particular 50 tons per day, production or sales. So I'm combining it together. Whatever is produced should be sold or will be sold. That is the concept. So if you take 50 ton is the break even. Anytime it goes below, that is sure that you are incurring loss. Without checking any balance sheet, you will know you are incurring loss. Whenever your sales is higher than the 50 ton per day, without seeing any accounts, you will be 100% sure that you are making profit. So that is the advantage of the break even analysis. Break even point is the level of production at which the enterprise shall earn neither profit nor incur loss. Breakdown level indicates that gestation period and the likely moratorium required for the repayment of the loans. Okay. Gestation period is from the time taken from converting the raw material into the finished product. That is the gestation period. And moratorium required for the repayment. What is moratorium? You must have heard that moratorium word more in the news during the COVID. Moratorium is where you will not be paying the EMI. Whatever the financial institution they have given a loan, the EMI will not be paid during the moratorium period. So, what is the requirement of your moratorium period? That should be specified. During the COVID, government made the mandatory moratorium where people are if they take the moratorium, they are not required to pay the EMI. Okay, so they gave it for the couple of months, 3 to 4 months, but whatever the interest is there, they have to pay the interest, but EMI they are not required to pay. This is the formula for the finding the break-even point. Break-even point is equal to F divided by S minus V, where F is the fixed cost, S is the selling price of per unit, and V is the variable cost per unit. So break-even point indicates at what level the output of the enterprise will break even. Break even means no profit, no loss. Economical and social variables. Every enterprise has the responsibility towards the society, that is a social responsibility. So in view of the social responsibility of the business, abatement costs, that is the cost for controlling the environmental damage, should be stated in the project. So if by setting up this industry, if there is any issue with the environment, okay, if it is causing any kind of a pollution, any kind of a damage, it could be air quality, it could be water quality, noise level, okay, any gas. So those should be mentioned, and how those things will be taken care, how the treatment will be done so that it doesn't impact the environment, should be specified. Arrangements made for treating the effluents and emissions should also be mentioned in the report. So even though this is a additional cost for the entrepreneur, he has to take care of this cost, and without the permission from the environmental agencies, some of the industries, they are not allowed to be operational. And it is not only one time treatment. As long as that a particular industry is producing those effluents, it has to take care of the treating those, so that it will not be harmful for the environment. In addition to the following, socio-economic benefit should be also be stated in the report. So what are the other things that should be specified? Employment generation. You have to specify how much employment it will generate. It can be like they can specify the direct employment generation and indirect employment generation both, because some industries, they will give the direct employment, and because of that industry there is another subsystem that will evolve, even that will generate some kind of a employment, that is called as a indirect employment generation. Import substitution, if there is any substitution from the importing, that should be specified. Ancillary, sorry, ancillarization is right undertaking. If you have any kind of a undertaking with the vendors, your suppliers, different vendors that you have, if you have any undertaking, that should be specified. Exports, if there is anything that you are planning to export, if there are products that is going to be exported, that should be specified. Local resource utilization, meaning of this is surrounding that, in that locality, if there are any resources there that you are going to utilize, it could be a human resource or it could be material resource. And you have to mention how you will contribute towards the development of that particular area. Those things should be mentioned. Next is the project implementation. Every entrepreneur should draw a implementation scheme or a timetable for his project to timely completion of all activities involved in setting up the enterprise. So, as we discussed before, there should be a definite implementation plan, that is like a timetable, when you will start and when you will finish that particular thing, what are the activities you are going to have, all those things should be specified. If there is a delay in implementation, project cost overrun. I told you before, whenever projects get delayed, the cost will increase, and sometimes what happens, the project implementation itself will become unviable. Means by making that project complete, you will not yield any profits or yield any benefits. So what will happen? Most of the times, such projects will be scrapped, or those projects will be dropped. Delay in the project implementation jeopardizes the financial viability of the project on one hand, and props up the entrepreneur to drop the idea to set up an enterprise on the other. So these are the two different problems that can happen. One is definitely cost is going to increase. When cost is increases, so that project will become financially unviable. Means financially it doesn't make sense in making that project. So entrepreneur might drop that particular project. Okay, so that is why we have a great need for drawing up a implementation scheme for the project and then adhere to it. Whatever the timeline we follow in that particular schedule, if we adhere to that timeline, the cost will be controlled and there is a higher chance of a success. PERT and CPM, these are the some tools that can be helpful in the estimating the project time, okay, to assess whether the project will complete on time or not. What is PERT is, it is program evaluation review technique, and CPM is critical path method. So these are two different techniques. Maybe I will talk about these two in the next session. These are very important tools that can be used, PERT and the CPM. Say PERT, like whatever the timeline, project timeline that is there, we can make sure that that particular project will complete on time, and CPM is critical path method. So when we are doing the project, we have start date and the end date. We are doing many activities. Some activities are dependent on previous, some are independent. So we are going to draw that as a path. Each activity will take as a path, and among those paths, one path is considered as a critical path. Okay, that critical path has to be monitored. There should not be any delay in that critical path. If there is any delay in the critical path, definitely the project is going to finish late. So more focus will be given on the critical path, and other paths, if there is any delay, that can be accommodated. So this actually, this technique, critical path method, it is used in the IT industry to monitor the projects, whether the projects are getting completed on time or not. Okay, next is the Planning Commission guidelines. Planning Commission of India, it is a government agency. This started after the independence. They started the Planning Commission. You must have heard Planning Commission name. Planning Commission of India is the one who is responsible to come up with the 5 years plan. Panchavarshika Yojana, that's what we call. It comes with a 5 years plan, and during the 5 years, what we are going to achieve, that is what they will put forth. And according to this Planning Commission, there are certain guidelines for making the report. And now this Planning Commission has been dissolved. I think with the new government which came in 2014, they dissolved the Planning Commission, and they started a new agency that is called as a Niti Aayog. Okay, now Niti Aayog takes care of majority of the responsibility of the Planning Commission with a different vision. So Niti Ayoga, sorry, Niti Ayoga is started with a new vision, and it incorporates the whatever the responsibility of the Planning Commission. So according to the Planning Commission, there are certain guidelines that needs to be followed, and many of these guidelines are very similar to what we saw before, right? It sounds like mostly it sounds like a repetition, but in the exam it's an important question. You have to remember all these important things that are suggested by the Planning Commission guidelines. General information. In case of a general information, we have to include a feasibility report. Okay, whatever the analysis you are done for the feasibility, that should be included. Then it should deal with the past performance of the industry. Description. If you remember earlier in the project report formulation, there was a industry profile. Similar to industry profile, we have to give the description of the type of industry, okay, priority of the industry, increase in production, role of the public sector, allocation of investments of funds, choice of technique, etc. should be mentioned. This should contain the information about the enterprise submitting the feasibility report. So those are the general information. Preliminary analysis of alternatives. This is about the market. So if what is the gap between the demand and supply, and how you will contribute to the gap, that should be specified. What is your capacity? Okay, complete list of all existing plants. So if you are in a particular industry, suppose you are setting up a new sugar factory, then you have to give the existing plants. Okay, what is their capacity? So all the information you should include in the report. What is the existing plant? What is their capacity? What is their level of production? And what is actually attained? Means what? If certain sugar factory is allowed for like 100 ton per day, whether they are actually doing 100 ton per day or 50 ton per day, that kind of a information. List of all projects for which letters of intent, okay, licenses have been issued, and list of proposed projects. So we should also give all the projects who got the licenses and which are operational, and also list of projects which are proposed to start. All this information should be provided. All options that are technically feasible should be considered in the preliminary stage. So technical feasibility should be included. Again, same location of the project, okay, and its implication should also be looked into. If there is any foreign exchange requirement, that should be specified. Profitability of different options should also be looked into. The rate of return on investment, so that is ROR, rate of return on investment, should be calculated and should be presented. And alternate cost calculation vis-a-vis return should be presented. So all the costs along with the return should be reported. Project description, it will have the feasibility report should provide a brief description of the technology or the process chosen, what kind of a process or the technology we are going to use. Then yeah, information regarding the optimality of location chosen should also be included. Okay, then to assist in the assessment of the environmental effects of project, every feasibility report must be present. Information on specific points, that is population, water, land, air, flora, fauna effects arising out of the project's pollution, other environmental destruction. So whatever the environmental effects that will be posed because of this particular industry, that should be specified. The report should contain list of important items of capital equipment and also the list of operational requirement of the plant, requirements of water, power, requirements of personnel. So here we have to specify what are the utility we require, what are the machinery we require, what are the human resources we require, and what is the organization structure, transport costs, and construction and factors, maybe for the building, construction for the building, construction for the installation of the machinery. All those things should be specified. Marketing plan contain the like a data on marketing plan, demand and prospective supply. Okay, those things should be there. The methods and the data for making the estimates of domestic supply. So how you are going to estimate the domestic supply. Selection of the market area should be presented, how you are going to select the market area, how you are going to, what is the strategy behind selecting the market area. Estimates of degree of price sensitivity should be presented. If there is any price sensitivity, when your product will have the price sensitivity, the kind of raw material you are taking is bound is has a price sensitivity. If it has a price sensitivity, the product will have the price sensitivity. For example, We know the crude oil. Crude oil, it fluctuates, means it is price sensitive. It fluctuates every day. As per the fluctuation, you will see the end product, that is the petrol, diesel that we use. Its price also fluctuates. So you have to give the estimate or degree of sensitivity. It should contain an analysis of past trends in the prices. So you have to specify in the past what is the trend, how it was fluctuating. That trend should be specified. Capital requirement and cost, the estimate should be reasonably complete and properly estimated. All the capital requirement, okay, whatever the expenses, whatever the machinery, building, land, everything should be incorporated, and you should come up with the total cost and according to the capital requirement. Information on all items of cost should be carefully collected and presented. So when you are making the estimates, the estimate should be very, very close to the actual. Let us say you are estimating certain machine will cost you 2 crores, and you put that 2 crores in the your estimates, and you come up with a capital. And tomorrow, let's say you made some wrong calculation, instead of 2 crores, that actually it costs 4 crores. So that is a huge deviation from the actual value. When you are making the estimates, you have to be very, very careful, and it should be reasonably like accurate, right? Maybe there is a 5% range is acceptable, okay, but beyond that it will cause the problem. Operating requirements and costs. The operating costs are essentially those costs which are incurred after the commencement of the commercial production. Okay, operating requirement and costs. So these are the operational costs, and uh, uh, all the cost factors for the operational cost should be considered. Examples are here: fuel cost, utilities, labor, repair, maintenance, selling expenses, and other expenses. Financial analysis. The purpose of the analysis is to present some measures to assess the financial viability, to check the financially whether it is viable or not. We have to come up with a balance sheet, expenses, and the incomes, and description should be allowed for the basis specified by the Bureau of Public Enterprises. So this is the where they give some way of specifying the balance sheet. And foreign exchange requirement should be cleared by the Department of Economic Affairs. If there is a if you are importing or exporting your goods, then the foreign exchange will come into picture. So you should have a clearance from the Department of Electronic Affairs. The feasibility report should take into account the income tax rebates or for priority industries, incentives for backward areas, accelerated depreciation. If there is any incentive that are given for various reasons, those things should be incorporated. Sensitivity analysis, I told you, the whatever the fluctuation in the prices, that should be considered. Report must analyze the sensitivity of the rate of return on the level of pattern of product prices. So how the sensitivity will impact the product prices should be assessed. Economic analysis, social profitability analysis needs some adjustment in the data relating to cost and return to the enterprise. Okay, one important type of adjustment involves a correction in the input and cost to reflect the true value of foreign exchange, labor, and the capital. So here we know that the foreign exchange, it is also sensitive. The exchange rate, it keep on fluctuating, and it changes on a day-to-day basis. That should be taken into consideration while doing the analysis. The enterprise should try to assess the impact of its operation on foreign trade. Indirect costs and benefits should also be included in the report. So whatever the cost or benefits due to this various operation should be incorporated. If they cannot be quantified, they should be analyzed and their importance emphasized. If certain thing cannot be quantified, you should include the emphasize their importance. In the next class, we will look into the enterprise resource planning, that is ERP.